Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we are going to be talking about Respect. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros: movies about Aretha Franklin. If you don't know who that is, how are you here? I mean, she's the queen of soul, one of the biggest names in all music. Her song, Respect, Respect, you probably heard it a bajillion times, especially in movies. That's probably the reason why they chose Respect to be the title of this movie, because the song is that well known and that recognizable. So, and also when it comes to these, biographical music movies, the biggest draw is obviously going to be, you know, who the movie's about, right? That's how it works. That's how it worked with Bohemian Rhapsody. The main draws were Queen and Freddie Mercury. It was Straight Outta Compton. Biggest draws were Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E. Ray, biggest draw was Ray Charles. Walk the Line, biggest draw was Johnny Cash, etc., etc. You know, obviously, if the people who are going to be interested the most in this movie are fans of the singer, right? So I imagine a decent amount of Aretha Franklin fans or people who know of her music are going to check this out at least out of curiosity. I mean, if we are talking pre-pandemic times, I would have said a lot more, but you know, I still think a decent amount of people might check this out. So yeah, easy pro right there. It's Aretha Franklin. Her fans will show up to watch it, no doubt in my mind. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, you have Jennifer Hudson, who stars as Aretha Franklin. Now, Jennifer Hudson, her whole career has basically been about music. Right? She was on American Idol, then she did Dreamgirls, right? Back in 2006. That movie, she got an Oscar for that movie. That was her first movie, and she got an Oscar, which is just crazy. And then since then, she's been a very recognizable name, especially in the world of movies and music and all that. She's a highly recognizable name. So besides, Aretha Franklin, movie being about her life, her being the draw, Jennifer Hudson playing as, being her, doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it only helps the movie a bit more. So I'll consider that another pro. Jennifer Hudson is the lead role. She's likely gonna draw some of her own fans, to see the movie. So yeah, another pro right there. Third pro, this movie has no real competition at all, at least not direct competition. I mean, the only thing that I can think of in the near future that, it could be direct competition is The Eyes of Tammy Faye, but that's not till mid September. Like, Respect pretty much has the rest of August to itself, at least when it comes to its genre. So, yeah, that's an easy pro right there. Uh, Trying to think of some other pros. Reviews are not great. They're merely okay, which sometimes that just doesn't matter for one of these movies. Like, if the fan base is strong enough, reviews just mean nothing. So, yeah, but they're not terrible. They're not going to tank the movie either. So I wouldn't consider that a pro or a con. It's kind of just a middle ground thing. All right. I guess we have to go with cons now. Cons. This movie doesn't have a whole lot of hype. I mean, especially in comparison to something like Bohemian Rhapsody or Straight Outta Compton. Those movies had tons of hype before they came out. This movie is a lot quieter in comparison. I mean, granted, the marketing campaign didn't get off to a great start, at least the initial one, because they decided the best course of action would be to have the first trailer debut in front of Cats, which also had Jennifer Hudson, funny enough, which in hindsight was a very poor decision because most people on planet Earth didn't watch that movie. They avoided it at all cost. Well, I didn't. and a few other people. I watched it. I don't regret that movie at all. I don't regret watching it. I had the time of my life watching that absolute horror show, and I don't regret it for a second. But still, yeah, that wasn't a good call. Then the pandemic hit, the movie got delayed a few times, and then it feels like they just, I don't know, like the hype was just not there, the marketing was just not there. Yeah, I it feels very low key, extremely low key comparison to other biographical music movies. So I was sort of at a con, the lackluster marketing and push. Another con is, well, I guess the genre itself too, in a way. Yeah, biographical dramas. I mean, some of these aren't music movies. These are just like biographical dramas. Like, oh, it's about a real life person or a real life incident. It still counts. Uh, Trying to looking through the ones. Well, there was Rocket Man. That only did all right. It didn't live up to expectation. There wasn't a Bohemian Rhapsody. That did spectacular. One of the biggest movies of that year. Yeah, there was that. Well, Hidden Figures. Can that be considered a comparison? Kinda. Sorta. I mean, both are movies that took place in the 60s during like the civil rights movement. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, even then, like Hidden Figures did spectacular too. There was that. There's Straight Outta Compton, that did great. Get On Up. Look, I love Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace. God bless his soul. But that movie tanked. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to state facts. The movie did bad, which is kind of shocking because it's about James Brown. How could a James Brown movie do terrible? Well, it did. Okay, I guess 2014 people just did not care. So, yeah, that was definitely a bust. And there's too many of these movies, and most of them aren't even music based. But yeah, some of the more successful ones, obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody, Straight Outta Compton, Walk the Line, Ray, those all did great. Rocket Man did good too. Then you have others like, say, Notorious and All Eyes on Me, which had good opening weekends, but then plummeted into oblivion right after. I don't think Respect is gonna end up like those. Not at all. But that means, you know, this this genre isn't like, it's not you're never guaranteed to be successful in any genre. No matter how good the miss ratio is. But yeah, this genre in particular, it all depends on how many Aretha Franklin fans are willing to go to the theater and watch the movie. But then that leads to another problem, another con, is that the target audience for this movie is obviously going to be older women, no doubt. And the thing is, that's the type of group that doesn't want to go out to public places in a pandemic, especially the movie theater. So that was not a smart call by this movie to be like, "Yep, we're releasing now." Especially considering the main demographic for this movie is going to be very hesitant to go to the cinema, so that could be lead to a serious problem. So, yeah, I'll consider that a con is the fact that the main audience for this movie, they don't want to go to the cinema all that much. So yeah, that's a big yikes. Another con, obviously, pandemic. As I already said, the main demographic for this movie doesn't want to go to the movies during the pandemic. And obviously, pandemic is going to hurt this movie no matter what, especially the Delta variant. I don't know by how much, but it will have a negative effect. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else really. Yeah, yeah. So opening weekend, this is kind of hard. Uh, well, some of the other biographical music movies. Like they had tons of advanced hype before and like huge hardcore fan bases. So naturally they would have big debuts. Straight Outta Compton opened with like 60 million, Bohemian Rhapsody 50 million. No, there's no way on planet Earth that's gonna happen for Respect. There's zero chance of that. It's gonna be a lot more modest, like like super modest in comparison. So I think it might reach double digits. I think it might reach 10 million or more. I'm just gonna stick with 10, maybe a little less, a little more, but I think 10 is a good number. It's a good target for this movie. And then in terms of legs, it should be able to leg out because it relies more of an older demographic. Sure, that old demographic won't be in high numbers, but it'll still be there in some form. So it'll probably make, I don't know, 30, 35 million total. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Respect. And that's it for the weekend. That's all the movies done. Next weekend, there's four movies, the most I've covered in quite a while. We got The Night House, Paw Patrol, Protege, Reminiscence. Four different movies, four different genres, and none of them are expected to do all that great. So, hooray. Then at the end of the month, we got Candyman. Then that will be the end of August. So, woohoo. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage with all previous prediction videos I made this year, from like all the big movies to the smaller movies, like everything in between, as long as it's a wide release. Cover them all. So if you want to watch any of them, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I believe I covered this movie once on the canceled series. I forgot when exactly, but it was definitely once before. I think it was when it initially moved to August, because this was supposed to be like it was supposed to be like a late 2020 movie, but that obviously couldn't happen. Instead, it moved to like January and then it moved to August. I remember that. But yeah, if you want to watch any of the canceled episodes I made, so far, I've made 73 up to this point. The most recent one I talked about, Venom 2 getting pushed back, and Hotel Transylvania 4 either getting pushed back, going to Netflix. If you want to watch any of those, you can go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. I just did the July recap last week. August recap will come out first week in September, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.